good afternoon again. Welcome to Medicare Mondays with Ruthlin and myself on the Heals Academy and Health Wiz. We're excited that you're joining us this evening once again. Last week, we went on the Medicare pathways, and we're excited that during this month of enrollment, during this month of health literacy, you are joining us on Medicare Mondays to learn more about Medicare. I am your host tutor, Dr. Prince Bewa, and we have Ruthlin also on the line. Shout out to Ruthlin. Hi, Ruthlin. Good
Hey,
afternoon
Prince.
again. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. It's exciting. I actually remember last week, and I was sharing, and I'll share it to the audience too, that we're excited to see that we're able to reach out to people that were on the line, our audience that were on the line, and double check how effective last week's session was. And we were very impressed to see that people were able to tell us what we went through and explain things to us. So it's always exciting. And it tells us that we are doing something that is impactful to the community. And we always appreciate you. We know that you had billions of things to do. You could have spent your hour in so many other ways, but you actually intended to be here. So we appreciate you for being here. And we hope that you will learn a lot. And today's will be simple. We are going through Medicare enrollment periods, and it's exciting again. And I'll pass on to Ruthlyn for her to introduce herself again and then tell us about her organization and Health West. And then we can go on to Medicare enrollment periods. I'm excited, and we are excited to have you here this afternoon. So, Ruthlyn, I'll pass to you.
Thank you, Prince, and thank you for doing this with me. This is awesome. I'm learning a lot from you here. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ruthlyn Noel, and my company is called Health with Solutions. And I like to say we are insurance problem solvers. And one of the groups that we work very closely with is the Medicare population. We help them to navigate the system, we help them with enrollment. In fact, my company is a licensed insurance agency that specializes in life and health. So we work with Medicare, we work with the Obamacare plans, we work with life insurance, and many of the voluntary benefits, those great little nuggets, what I call that kind of pays cash for individuals. So we cover all our bases when it comes to health and when it comes to life. And I am just super excited to be here today to talk to you about enrollment periods for Medicare because it's part of the planning that everyone should be thinking about. And it's a great strategy if you understand the enrollment process. Then it's a great strategy for how you navigate the system. So I'll turn it back over to Prince, and we'll continue with the program.
And it's so interesting. Thank you so much, Ruthlyn. When I shared this on LinkedIn last week, when I set this up, I had one person, one of our audience, who forwarded and shared it out, and she what she added to it was, you don't have to get to 65 or a week before you turn 65 to learn about Medicare, right? So learning about this help you plan and also be able to help. Sometimes you'll be helping your parent, your grandparents, and any elderly that might be in your home or in your family circle. So it's important. I wish I learned this in elementary school and also in high school because it's needed in life. So I'm glad and excited that you were able to join us. Ruthlyn, one thing, if you were able to just give a preview of last week's, right? I like repetition, and I think we saw that last week. Um, Give us a gist of the two areas or some things that we learned about last week that you want to share. Then we can move on into Medicare enrollment periods today.
Uh, well, I mean, let's just take it very your Medicare choices. There are four parts. Everyone knows the parts. Part A is hospital coverage. Part B is your medical coverage. Those covers your doctors, your labs. Part D is your prescription drug coverage. So you're going to get your medications on the Part D. And then you have what's called Medicare Advantage. So that's a Part C. That's usually the four parts that we talk about. But within those parts, there are two pathways. There's the original Medicare part pathway, which is where you stay with your Part A for hospital, your Part B for your medical, and you're going to add a Part D drug plan. That's one pathway, and maybe through that pathway, you will add a Medicare supplement plan to help cover your out of pocket costs. Or the other pathways, that's where you get everything combined in one plan, um, led by an insurance company, and that's your Medicare Advantage. So, original Medicare one pathway, Medicare Advantage, the second pathway. And
Okay.
those two shall never meet.
Okay, thank you so much. And we learned about the pathways. At least if you didn't get anything, the two pathways are the original Medicare pathway and the Medicare Advantage pathway. Thank you so much, Ruthlyn. And we'll jump on to today's, which is Medicare enrollment periods. And just as we did last time, we have some opportunities. We have the goal and we go through some opportunities that is really our why of doing what we are doing and focusing on this for today. So, simplified, the goals for today is to have a simplified understanding of the various types of Medicare enrollment periods so that as a person, as an individual, you can ensure timely and cost effective access to healthcare coverage. So, you want to be able to get coverage on time and it's cost effective for you. So today's is to help you to understand enrollment periods so that you can achieve that. The second one is to avoid any penalties. I don't love penalties. So we wish and we are doing this so that you understand what to do when, so that you avoid unnecessary penalties if you don't need to. And the third goal here is to help you make informed decision about which Medicare options and looking at which and when for these Medicare options. And that is what we want to achieve for today. So at the end of the day, we want to have a better understanding of the enrollment periods so that you avoid or you're able to make these necessary choices. And we are glad that you are here joining us again. The did you know that when the enrollment period is used in the context of Medicare, it can refer to at least five different kinds? Like if somebody says enrollment period, it's like which kind? Which one are you talking about? Don't just take enrollment period and just go because you'll be confused. But it is best to understand which enrollment period the person is being talked about. And today, that is what we want to demystify, understand, break it down so that when somebody is talking about enrollment period or mention that terminology, enrollment period, you are able to ask the question, which one? And if the person doesn't know, at least you can inform them because you've learned from here, or you can point them here to learn more about that. So we want to break that down today, understanding enrollment periods. Um, there was this article, Medicare Rights Center, and it's a bipartisan organization that talks about Medicare enrollment. And it's interesting because I'll just quickly read part of it. It says, while most people are automatically enrolled in Medicare Part B, because they are collecting Social Security benefits when they become Medicare eligible at 65, a growing number are not. Many are working later in life and deferring retirement. In 2016, only 60% of 65-year-olds were taking Medicare Social Security, compared to 92% in 2002. So I can just imagine in 2022, 2023, and this was written in 2023. So highlighted here in 2023. So it's fairly recent. This growing cohort must take active Medicare enrollment choices, taking into consideration specific timelines, complex Medicare rules, existing coverage. Missteps are common and carry severe consequences, including lifetime financial penalties, higher out-of-pocket healthcare costs, and also coverage gap. The Medicare Rights National Consumer Helpline, we frequently hear from people who inadvertently fail to enroll in Medicare on time and experiencing harmful fallout. These errors are often due to confusion and unawareness about the enrollment process and Medicare requirements. And that is what we are doing. This is a great opportunity. The rules are complicated, and even human resource experts sometimes struggle to follow them. And many employee benefit department like Medicare expertise. So pretty much what it's telling us is that it is important to understand the periods so that you can avoid there some coverage gaps or some penalties or some fallout. And that is basically the reason for what we are doing. And this is a great opportunity. And that also jumps into what we are doing today or a part of as part of this series. The same organization, there's a quote here that I have here. Said Part B that's confusing process for people transitioning from other types of health insurance coverage. Then it goes on to even tell more um, that there was AARP article that they talked about 10 common Medicare mistakes to avoid. And out of that 10 common Medicare mistakes to avoid, five of them dealt with enrollment and timing and penalties. 5 out of 10. So I'm like, this is very important. If there's something I want to learn, I want to learn this. And therefore we wanted to bring this to your notice so that you are able to learn and also help prevent these 10 common mistakes, which are five related to enrollment. And the five are the ones related to enrollment are not signing up for Medicare at the right time. That was number one. Blowing the special enrollment period. This is one enrollment period, and we're going to talk about it. Delaying enrollment when your job insurance is the second in line. That is another thing we're going to talk about. And not understanding part B and part D enrollment penalties. So that's another one. And delaying biomedical get Medigap policy. So all of these are opportunities that you don't have to go through. We don't have to go through, especially in the community that we are. If you're an immigrant coming into the U.S., there's and something that you don't understand. This is something that we are here to help support. And Ruth Lane's work is there to help support. My work is here to support, and we want this to get out to the community, into our community, so that people do not get into these mistakes and sometimes lifetime penalties. And with that, I will pass it on to Ruthlin, who will be taking us through enrollment periods. And Ruthlin, I pass it over to you, and please let it go.
Okay. So one of the things, folks, that and Prince brought it up. The enrollment periods are tied closely to the penalties. And we're going to talk a little bit later about what those penalties might be, but it is so crucial to understand those enrollment periods. In fact, if you jump ahead, Prince, um, we are heading into a major enrollment period starting on the 15th of October. And of that list, I'm sure some of you might know what it is. It's the annual enrollment period. This is that one time of the year, or what folks would often call that time of the year where you make your major changes, and we'll deal with that. So we couldn't have been bringing this to you at a more advantageous time because AEP starts right now. It's in less than a week.
Yeah,
So here we
yeah,
go.
it's
All
less
right.
than a week.
Yep. So we have a number of, or Medicare has a number of different enrollment periods. The initial enrollment period, I think we have slides on each one of those, but I'm just going to
Yes,
go through them very quickly. Um, this is your first time turning 65. It's called an IEP for a reason because you have 7 months to really take advantage of that initial enrollment period. And let me stop because I know one of the first questions I get from most people is, do I have to enroll when I turn 65? And we're going to talk a little bit about the other enrollment periods that might work for you. But this enrollment period, the initial enrollment period, it is used when you turn 65 but you do not have coverage available through a job, right? So just keep that in mind. You have 7 months to use this enrollment period. Think of your birthday month, right? Because that's when the coverage will start. Coverage will start the first of your birthday month, except if your birthday is the first of the month. If it's the first day of the month, your coverage is actually going to start the month before. But I don't want to confuse you. Know what your birthday is. You have 3 months before and 3 months after to use this initial enrollment period. It's called your IEP, your one shot. If you don't use it, you will have to come into Medicare using another enrollment period. All
So
right.
just, and I will repeat, so thinking of 7 month period where
Right.
your birthday month is in the middle.
The
So three
birthday's in
months
the middle.
prior, so like a sandwich, right? So your birthday month is in the sandwich, right? So 3 months prior, three
Right.
months after, and your birthday month. So initial enrollment period is like a sandwich. I'm just trying to make it
That's a good
easier.
analogy. You can use it that way, however it is, whatever you use to learn it, right?
Yeah.
Um, I'll tell you what I use the 3 months before for is really to get people prepped and enrolled, right? So
Okay.
most people will call me 6 months before and say, I'm turning 65, such and such. And we will make an appointment to meet in that 3 or 4 months before, because we have paperwork that needs to be done.
Okay.
Um, you have to enroll with Social Security for Part A and Part B. That's what really triggers Medicare. Um, it's the system is moving a little quicker now, but during the pandemic, folks were waiting 7, 8, 10 weeks because of everything else. So there were a lot of delays happening. So treat those 3 months before as your point in time where you submit all of your Medicare paperwork, because you're looking to start the first of your birthday month. And if it's not done by the first of your birthday month, then it will be the next month, the following month, or the third month afterward, right? So that's why that those extra 3 months are
3 months.
available. But the whole idea of those first three, that whole time frame, is to really get you prepared, get those paperwork in, because Part A and Part B is what triggers Medicare.
Okay. So, and you touched on the paperwork. So, can
Mhm.
someone reach out to you, or is it preferable to do this, maybe even 4 months or 5 months before the birthday period, or you would recommend like between that 3 months is enough,
I
to get ready?
3 months is usually enough to get
Okay.
ready, but I would say talk with someone,
Okay.
especially if you're brand new to Medicare. Speak with someone 5, 6 months out, right?
Okay.
So most of my new enrollees coming in, we're starting the paperwork 3 months before, but we've already spoken. Most
Okay.
of them, right? So I already gave them a plan, Prince, that says, let's put on the calendar, that sometime in that first month, that is your first month of your 3 months,
Okay.
that we're going to start the paperwork. But we've already spoken 5, 6 months ahead of time, and we schedule that.
Hmm.
That's how I strategize with my clients coming in, so they know that they're going to meet with me in that first month, that they're turning, before their first month, before the first of the 3 months. So
Okay.
we put it like that,
Okay. Okay.
right?
Okay. 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 Makes sense to me. And also, I want to also get to our audience. If you have any question, please don't hesitate to put it in any of
Hmm.
the outlets that you are watching us from, either from Facebook, either from LinkedIn, either from YouTube. Put it there. We're gonna get it and we can discuss it. So please don't hesitate to put in and send in questions as we go, so that we
Right.
can look at them and discuss them as we talk through them. Okay. All right. Anything else on the initial enrollment period?
Okay.
Otherwise, we can move
Um,
on to the next one.
so let's move on to the next one. I'll
Let's
come
move on
back
to the
to
next one.
that, but
Okay.
I don't want to confuse the audience. So let's move on to the next one, and then we'll talk about bringing it together. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
your Medicare supplement open enrollment period, how that is triggered, and I want to come back to that because this is kind of an after, right? So you've done your initial enrollment period, part A and P, or A and B, so you're enrolled in original Medicare, and that Medicare enrollment period really is you're making choices now about what to do, right? What to do now that you're in Medicare. Should you add a supplement, or the other alternative is that the supplement keeps you at original Medicare. The other alternative being that you go with a Medicare Advantage route. So in that what to do time frame, you now have an opportunity to enroll in a Medicare supplement plan. And that time frame, what I will tell you that's most important about the Medicare supplement, that first time that you're coming into Medicare, um, is the most important time to decide about your Medicare supplement and if you're going to take it. Because depending on where you live, New York versus New York or California versus, let's say, Mississippi, for example. I just pull Mississippi out of my hat. There are certain things that goes on in the states and how they write these policies that you may be subjected to underwriting rules. Basically, underwriting just means that the insurance company is going to require some kind of medical, right? You're going to have to get some blood work done, and they're going to make some decisions about whether or not they're going to accept you in. So once that enrollment period is done, that open enrollment, you could be subjected to medical afterwards. So you're making the decision now in that open enrollment period because this is the time you have the most flexibility. And so
Yeah.
if you're going that route, and you enter Medicare, you do the Medicare supplement when you're making your choices at that point in time with Medicare. It's not
Okay.
that you can't come back to it. It's just know that if you've went through and you've missed your open enrollment for your Medicare supplement, then you may just have underwriting rules in certain states.
Okay. So, and I will quickly go back on to the even the initial enrollment
Right.
period, just building from last week, right? This is applicable to, is this applicable to both pathways,
Yes.
or is this
Yes.
okay? So I
Everyone
want to bring it in
enters.
and tie them together.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So this is applicable to both pathways. So even if you're making choice that I'll go with pathway or original or
Supplement.
pathway
Right.
advanced advantage, this is applicable to you.
Correct.
On this where there is Medicare supplement open enrollment period, this is when you are making a choice of which pathway that you would
That you've
want to
decided to
go.
go.
You
Correct.
decided to go.
Correct.
Exactly. Okay. So if I want to go and in pathway traditional, then this is needed. I will need to do this.
This is needed. You're going to choose a Medicare supplement to supplement your Medicare plans because Medicare has out of pocket costs, and these supplements are going to pay these out of pocket costs. And this is your one shot deal of getting into a plan of your choice without having to deal with medical.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
All right.
And
Is that clear?
I think that is clear to me. That is clear
Okay.
to me. I hope it's clear to our audience. This is clear to me. So, but so this is also applicable for traditional pathway and Medicare Advantage pathway, or this is only needed for traditional
So,
pathway,
so when we're talking about Medicare supplement, we're only talking about the original
original
Medicare
pathway.
pathway.
Okay, okay, okay. So it makes it easier for me. It makes it
Right.
easier for me. All right. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, we can move on to the next. I'm monitoring the queue to see if there are any questions. Otherwise, I'll move on to the next enrollment period.
Okay.
General enrollment period. All right, take us.
Okay. So you've done so, and I'll walk you through this one. So now you've missed your IEP. So you've missed the initial enrollment period, and you've missed your whole 7 month window. And now you realize, oh, I need to come into Medicare. That's what the general enrollment period is for. It allows you to enroll January 1 through March 31st. Um, and you enroll in Part A and Part B. You get your red, white, and blue Medicare card, your original Medicare. We all start there, right? Um, but this is what the general enrollment. Now, the biggest change to the general enrollment period was in the past when you enrolled in this period between January 1 and March 31st, coverage did not used to start until July 1st. That was changed. And so now coverage starts the next month. So once you submit all of your paperwork in, if you enrolled in January on January 1st, your coverage will start February 1st. If you enrolled and the coverage start and and CMS starts your and I say CMS, okay, Social Security starts your Medicare February 1st, your coverage will start in the general enrollment period pretty much the next month. So there is no more of that 6, 7, 8 month waiting period that used 6, 7 month waiting period that used to be tied to the general enrollment period. All right, so that you use this if you missed your IEP, if you missed the original initial enrollment period, that is when the general enrollment is applicable. And notice it's only January, February, and March is when you could kick in. So think about it. Let me give you an example. Your birthday was in March of this year. Uh, might not be a good example. Let's do August of this year. So your birthday was in August of this year. And so your IEP would have been, if I go backwards,
3 months.
July,
Mm-hmm.
June, and May. So starting in May was when you would have been eligible to enroll in Medicare. And so 3 months before, the birthday is in August. So 3 months after, so September, October,
October,
November,
November.
right? So from May to November, that would have been your IEP,
Initial
your initial
enrollment
enrollment
period.
period to
Getting it.
get for Medicare. But November came, you did not enroll. And so you have December, and you now realize, oh man, I need to enroll in Medicare, and I missed my IEP. You could now enroll January 1st or sometime in January, between January 1st and March 31st now. That would be considered the general enrollment period. And when we're doing this, we have to be very specific with Medicare, because if you're enrolling in this on your own as a broker, when we do this, we have to make sure that Medicare knows that we're enrolling that person in that general enrollment period. Otherwise, it could be denied.
Okay. So what happens if your birthday falls within general enrollment period and initial enrollment period?
Okay, well, it doesn't matter. It's your initial enrollment period.
Oh, okay, okay,
Right?
okay,
But
okay.
here's a better example. Let's say your birthday falls in that January, right?
Uh-huh.
January, February, March, and you missed your IEP altogether. You If you don't take advantage of one of the other enrollment periods that we're going to talk about, the next time you could come in is January 1st of the following year, technically speaking,
Wow.
right?
Wow. So
So
you wouldn't have
that's
any Medicare coverage for that period of time?
what happened.
You wouldn't have Medicare coverage for that period of time. You have to wait till the next general
That's
enrollment
technically
period.
how this period is supposed to work. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right,
Okay.
because your birthday fall, because you fall in that January time frame and you missed it, so you might
Hmm.
have a whole year almost
Wow.
to wait. That
Wow.
is why there are several other um enrollment
Enrollment
periods that
period
you have to
that you can take
understand
it.
what you could take advantage of. And I meet a lot of people, Prince, in the field,
Hmm.
um, who end up in situations just like that. They miss their IEP. In fact, I was speaking with a gentleman recently, and his next enrollment is not until January. And
Wow.
he passed all of that for like 2 years and did not enroll in Medicare. And
Wow.
then when he did finally enroll, the time frame they were giving him um, to really take advantage was really during the general enrollment period. So be mindful of that when you miss your IEP. It happens a lot to immigrants.
Wow. Wow. We have a question here in the chat and I'm gonna overlay it. And it says that from Shaq, says, is there a minimum amount of years to work before qualifying to enroll in
Yes,
Medicare?
yes. So what Social Security looks at is that 40 credits. And I talk of 40 credits is the equivalent of 3 credits a year. So
Okay.
that equates to 10 years of work history. It
Okay.
doesn't matter how much money you make. The fact is that you've been contributing through salary,
Okay.
and Medicare has been, and the government has been collecting these
Medicare
taxes on you,
taxes.
and you've been paying your Medicare taxes. So 10 years, right? This
Okay.
is a magic number. And it's so important, Prince, that whole question, because for many um, minorities, um, immigrant
Immigrants. Yeah.
populations, sometimes, they work in trades that don't pay them salary,
Huh.
right? And then someone is age 60 and realize that they don't have enough credit to
Wow.
qualify for Medicare. And I see that a lot. So when I'm talking to my immigrant customers, I let them know Medicare is looking at you to have those 10 years working and paying taxes so that you could take advantage of having health insurance when you reach the age of 65.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, Shaq, we hope that this answered your question. If it doesn't, please let us know and we can try to explain it more. But it looks like 10 years, the magic number of
10
10
years is
years.
your magic number,
10 years,
right?
yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, you may still qualify for Medicare, but you will have to pay the fee for Part A,
Oh, okay. And
right?
the,
Um, and what we're looking at here, and let me just make a little further clarification on that. When we're talking 10 years, we're talking 10 years because for most people, Part A, Medicare Part A, that hospital coverage is no cost to them,
okay.
no premium cost to them, right?
Yeah.
They have out of pockets, but no premium. So for premium free Part A, that's where the whole tax issue come into, and you have to pay. You may still qualify for Part B without having those 10 years, because but all you have is a medical insurance. You don't have hospital insurance. So we see a lot of people walking around with just Medicare Part B
The
on their red, white, and blue card. But that's because they did not work enough and put enough into the system to get back the benefit of having hospital
hospital
coverage.
coverage. Okay. Okay. And we are intending to talk more on the Medicare costs.
Right.
So we will have a session on the Medicare costs as well. So we hope this will be awesome for you. But thank you so much. So if you are watching, joining us from YouTube, from Facebook, from LinkedIn, anywhere you're joining us from, we are talking through Medicare enrollment periods, the different types of Medicare enrollment periods. We've gone through the initial enrollment period, and now we are in the general enrollment period. And if you have any question, don't hesitate to put in the chat, and then we
Absolutely.
can follow up on that. So with that, Ruthlyn, we will move on to the next enrollment period that we have here, which is the special period.
Okay. All right. So I love the special enrollment period. And, I wasn't too familiar with it until I really became a broker and really going through all of my certifications for Medicare and really looking at what an advantage we have with Medicare, right? And think about this. If you're in your job and you're in an employer based plan, you'd know that employer only have one time of the year when you could enroll in that group plan for the job, right? Is one time. Usually it's around this time of the year.
Of the year,
If you
yeah,
miss it, you miss it until next year, right?
yeah.
The special enrollment period. It is wide and it is varied. You could use it for a number of circumstances to get and enroll into Medicare. Um, if we have inclement weather related, and we use that a lot because I'm in a state, we have all kinds of issues going on. We have hurricanes. We have heavy rainfalls that fall and cause damage. We had COVID, so that was a special enrollment period for the past few years that we were using as brokers. Um, if you've lost coverage, if you've moved from one area, so you've moved from New York to Florida, you may need a special enrollment if you've never enrolled in Part A or Part B. So this special enrollment creates the opportunities for, if you missed your IEP, which is your initial enrollment period, or you missed the general election period, general enrollment period, which is your January through March, that second chance, really.
Mhm.
You have a third chance, a third opportunity to enroll in Medicare. Once you trigger that, that coverage is now that opportunity to enroll um, lasts 8 months, and you could apply for, you could enroll in a number of things. You could enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan. Now, there is part of this. So if you remember, I said when you turn 65, if you're still working, you would probably not enroll in Medicare at
Medicare.
that point in time.
Hmm.
What's in this special enrollment period is losing coverage from a job. So if you're retiring from your job, if you've lost employer coverage during that time frame, you would trigger a special enrollment to enroll in Medicare,
Mm.
right? And that is so important because so it's crucially important when you're retiring or you're about to leave an employer job and you're over the age of 65 that you time the enrollment into Medicare specifically. You're going to know when the plan is going to end your group coverage. You're going to want to have Medicare start that first month or that second month after, but you want to limit the gaps, because if you go more than 63 days, now you're into a penalty phase,
Wow.
because now you don't have coverage if you go too long. So we see a number of people missing that special enrollment from the jobs into Medicare because they didn't know what to do. This
Okay.
period, so important to note that.
Yeah. So in it looks like this period has several circumstances that one can
Several.
leverage. Yeah, I know some of the employer group plans do have special enrollments with, like, for example, you get married or baby coming in, those kind of things. But
All of those,
yeah, it
correct.
looks like one like having these several opportunities to join in, but then you have to know them, one, and you have to
Right,
know the timelines that are
right,
associated with them to be able to take advantage of them
correct,
as you work through them. Okay.
correct.
Okay.
Um, and let me say something about small employer group here, because we're talking employer groups and that special enrollment. If you work for an employer that's fewer than 20 employees, your starting date for Medicare is really your IEP timeframe when you turn 65. If you work for an employer that has more than 20 employees, that's where you could delay your Medicare and you come in under a special enrollment. So, what I find with, and I find that a lot with small business owners,
Hmm.
is that you probably have 10, 15 employees, and you offer your employees health insurance,
Okay.
but you turn 65 and your employees turn 65, and folks believe, oh, well, I have coverage through my job. I'm not supposed to enroll in Medicare.
Medicare.
That's a misnomer. You
Huh.
could be subjected to the penalty. So it's important to know the size of your group, to know if you're eligible based on your initial enrollment, or whether you could use a special enrollment.
So I'm guessing that, like, when people come to you, for example, for support through this, like, all these are questions that needs to be answered within that 3 months prior to, or maybe a couple
That's
months
why I
prior
say
to
do it
be able
six
to.
months, right? Because if you
Yeah.
come to me at
Yeah.
6 months before, I'm going to tell you you're going to need to enroll, and you're going to make plans to enroll
To
rather
enroll.
than wait on it.
Okay, 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 okay. A question came to mind based on the question that Shaq brought up.
Hmm.
And is there a way people can get a understanding of, or track how many credits or how many years they have contributed to, or there's no way
Absolutely.
to do it? Oh, okay.
Right.
How do people do
So
that?
they don't do it as much anymore until you're probably over 55.
Okay.
But back when I had just started working, I don't want to give away my age, but in the early 2000s, I used to get my social security statements every year. It would come in the mail telling me I've worked number of this and I have XYZ and I could get Medicare and I could get my social security benefits at that level, right?
Uh-huh.
And it has stopped. They have stopped sending it out. But one way that you could check is that you could go online right now, go to ssa.gov, Social Security Administration.gov, but it's ssa.gov is the website.
Okay.
And in there, you would create an online account. You would have it verified, and it will take you directly to your Social Security account to check your benefits
Hmm.
and stay on top and the loop. This is the easiest way to do that, right?
Okay. Okay.
But not many people are technically savvy.
Savvy.
One of the other ways you would do that, if you have the time and you have the patience, because you do need an ounce of patience, is to go down
Oh,
to
you
your
have to go to
local.
the social security office.
You
So,
go down to your local social security office and you ask them for a printout,
huh.
right?
Okay.
And they'll give
Okay.
it to you.
Okay. Okay.
But if you're okay and you're a little bit more technically savvy, yes, it's one of the things that you would do online and log into your account, and you have your account and a lot of the information. They put everything in your account.
Actually, as I'm talking, I'm trying to go through the my app store to see if there's an app for it, and it
I
looks
don't think
like.
there is an app.
Oh, you don't think there's an
I,
app?
I haven't seen the app, but I have it like loaded onto my computer because it's not even part of my job. But do you know how much people we help here in my office actually do that online and create those accounts? It becomes something that we're just now used to doing now for
Okay.
our customers because it could get a little challenging in
Okay.
verifying the account.
Okay, okay, okay. But at least that's a way that one can go to
Yes,
ssa.gov, log in, create an account, and then be able to track the number of
absolutely.
years that you have contributed.
Absolutely.
At least there is an opportunity there. Or you have
Right.
patience, you go to the social security office to double check on that one. Okay. All right. So we've done and I want to go back. I want to have it from memory. We did the initial enrollment period,
Hmm.
then we went through the uh,
Medicare
Medicare
supplement.
supplement enrollment period, open enrollment period. Then we are in the special enrollment period. So we will move on to the next one, which was our annual enrollment period. I think you've talked about
Right.
this over,
Right. And
which we are getting
everyone,
in, right?
if you're not familiar, you're if you don't know, didn't know it was called the annual enrollment period. This is the only enrollment period, if you think about it, that has commercial and advertising around it, right? So right now, wherever you're watching us from, you probably have an ad running on TV about AEP is coming October 15th through December 7th, your one time of the year where you could make changes because we could promote the hell out of this annual enrollment period, right?
Enrollment period.
But but with the annual enrollment period, this is not for everyone, and I have to remind folks that it's for people who already have Medicare,
Okay.
right? Because what's going on in the annual enrollment period is that you're making changes, and the key word here is changes, right? So if you've never enrolled in IEP because you never enrolled in your period, you don't have Medicare. So technically, you
Hmm.
can't make changes if you don't have Medicare. So this annual enrollment period is for people who are already on Medicare. They've selected a plan. Maybe they have original Medicare with a supplement and they want to switch over to a Medicare Advantage plan. Or they have a Medicare Advantage plan and they want to go back to original Medicare at a standalone Part D drug plan and add a Medicare supplement plan. But what's going on in the annual enrollment period is that you're making changes, right? And when you make changes between October 15th And December 7th is the same enrollment period every year. Those coverage starts January 1st of the next year. So for right now, when we start making changes for folks starting next Sunday, I think Sunday is the
Mhm.
15th.
I
Um,
think so too.
so from between October 15th and December 7th, those coverage will start or kick in January 1st of 2024,
Huh.
right?
Huh.
So don't
Uh-huh.
get this annual enrollment period confused. And it's also confusing for people whose birthdays
Fall in
fall
here
in that
because
cycle, right?
it can be an initial enrollment period for somebody, right?
Exactly. Right, right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So if your birthday, if you're turning 65 for the first time, this is not your this
Annual
is not
enrollment
your
period.
enrollment period. On on the applications that we're doing, we have to specify that if you're a 65-year-old coming in for the first time, we're actually putting you in under an IEP, so an initial
Annual
enrollment
enrollment.
period.
Initial
This
enrollment.
is
Yeah.
only used for changes. This is for people who wants to make changes, don't like what they have or like what they have but wants to try something else. This is annual enrollment is only for changes. And it's for people who already have Medicare.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
But this
Okay.
is the one
And
that you see the most advertising, the most promoting, and it's the most confusing to individuals because of what you see out in the broader world.
okay. Okay. So the annual enrollment period, like, so one basically one has to have
Medicare.
Medicare to be able to make changes
Correct.
to what they
Correct. You
have
have to be
before
enrolled in
they have
original Medicare or in a Medicare Advantage plan.
Medicare Advantage. Okay, before they have.
Right.
Okay, all right. So that is good. I'm gonna go back again. So initial enrollment period, and that's the sandwich. 6 months, 3 months, 3 months. Then you in the middle.
Correct.
Then we have the supplement enrollment period. Supplement open enrollment period, which is 6 months or 5 months after your
At
birthday.
six months
Um,
after you've enrolled in Medicare. That's the
enrolled
trigger.
in, yeah, it was enrolled. Then we had the special enrollment period, which is special circumstances that happen within your life that makes you want to get onto Medicare because you didn't enroll earlier. And that has, I think it has the 8 months, I believe,
Mhm.
period of time before the penalties. All right, I think I'm getting it. Then we have the annual enrollment period, which happens every year within the 15th to the 17th, which is coming next week. And you see a lot of commercials. So commercials, annual enrollment period. All right,
Correct.
cool. I think I'm getting this. Then there is the open enrollment period here. If you don't mind going through
Okay.
that for us.
And this is not to be confused. Notice the same time frame with the general enrollment period. This is not to be confused with the general enrollment period. And I'm going to say this again. Um because we call it open enrollment, but I'm going to add an MA in front of that open enrollment because it's really the Medicare Advantage open enrollment period.
Okay.
That's what that period is for. And this is crucial. So you've, as a person, you've made a change during the annual enrollment period. So this is AEP, right? Acronyms. We love acronyms, right? So you've made a change in that October 15th through December 7th time frame. And then you realize, oh, because a lot of people were calling you and stuff, and you took a Medicare Advantage plan, maybe one of those companies, and you realize, oh, in January you went to the doctor, and your doctor says, oh, I don't know, we don't take this plan. This is what that is for. It
Mm.
allows you to make another change, but it only ties to your Medicare Advantage. So if you were in an original Medicare um, option where you had original, your red, white, and blue card, and you had
Uh,
your part,
Pathway original.
the pathway original, you would not be able to make a change in this time frame,
Okay.
right? So this is for people who has or a Medicare Advantage plan
Pathway. Hmm.
at the start of the year. So at on January 1st of that year, they were already enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan. They could use that open enrollment period to swap out.
Okay.
meaning to go back to original Medicare or to change for another Medicare Advantage
Advantage.
plan.
Okay.
That time frame to make these changes is between January 1, 2020, January
One
1st and March 31st
of that
of that
year.
year. It's the same every year. You could make that change. You could go back to original Medicare, or you could change to a different Medicare Advantage plan. You could make those changes during this time frame, and coverage will start the first of the next month. And what I love about Medicare is that if you enroll, if you make that change January 31st, that coverage is going to start February 1st. It's
Okay.
that quick,
Okay.
right? You may
Okay.
not have all the details, may not have a, well, you'll have the details of the plan. You may not have the benefit card, but coverage will start start February 1st.
Okay.
If
Okay.
if you're just kind of giving an example
Give an
here.
example. Give an example. So
Hmm.
this is the open enrollment is for those that are
Medicare
in
Advantage,
Medicare Advantage, which is the pathway
right?
Medicare Advantage. If they want to make changes within or make changes, go back to pathway A. If they want
Right,
to do
right,
that.
right.
Right.
So it's a second chance, because what we find during the during the annual enrollment period is that people make changes that they maybe did not intend to make, or
Yeah.
they made changes that they're a little confused about.
Mhm.
Um, for whatever reason, they made a change, or maybe they've always had a plan, and they go there and they realize in January that they have to have surgery, and that surgeon is going to be out of network, but they
Network.
already have a Medicare and they need to find a different plan that's in network. For whatever the reasons, it's a second chance to make that change, but you have to have already been in a Medicare Advantage
Advantage
plan,
pathway too.
right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's a great tool. We use it a lot in that time frame. It's not advertised, but we use it a lot when someone comes to us during that time frame and they're complaining about the plan that they have. We already know that there's an open enrollment and we could find them something different.
Different. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Ruthlyn. I think we have another question from Shad
Okay.
over here, and he says, "Can you combine Medicaid with Medicare?"
All right. Yes, you can. Well, let me tell you how Medicaid act in when someone has Medicare. So Medicaid by nature is a payer of last resort. So whatever kind of coverage you have first, Medicaid is not going to pay first, because Medicaid is a program for individuals who have lower incomes, right? That's the
Mhm.
difference. So when someone has Medicare, Medicaid acts as secondary to Medicare. So if you have Medicare and you have Medicaid is going to help with your out of pocket costs. And that's the benefit and the perk of having Medicaid, is that it eliminates your Medicare costs. So all the co-pays that you're going to have, all of the co-insurance that you're going to have, um, the premiums that you're going to pay, as well for your Part B, or even the Medicare Advantage plans. If someone is eligible for Medicaid, um, the Medicaid program covers those costs. And I'll tell you why Medicaid does that. If you're under 65, Medicaid is paying 100% of the cost for you. If you go into the hospital, Medicaid is paying those costs for you, right? 100% your hospital costs. We know how expensive hospitals are. But when someone is 65 and older, or they have a disability and they have Medicare, what Medicaid is able to do is to have Medicare be the primary payer. So Medicare picks up the hospital, Medicare picks up the higher bills, and it's more cost efficient or for Medicaid to help you with your copays. So Medicaid helps, and depending on the states that you're in, it's one of the tools that we work with for many of our seniors who are in low income, is to get them enrolled in Medicaid or get them enrolled. There's another program called the Medicare Savings Program, which is also helps individuals enroll for extra help for Medicare. And so we use Medicare Savings Program, and all of the other prescription assistance programs as tools to help individuals to lower their out of pocket costs for Medicare, right? But it's not going to be for everyone because, like I said, there are income limits and resource limits attached to all of those things. But it's one of the tools, and it's a very effective tool that we have as brokers and as agencies helping individuals with Medicare to lower their costs. So yes, Medicaid acts as a secondary payer from Medicare, not a supplement, because I think folks make that confusion in saying Medicaid is a supplement. Medicaid is not a supplement, it's a secondary payer to Medicare. So it pays your out of pocket. So if you have Medicaid, and I find that a lot of times too, you don't need a Medicare supplement, right? Because if Medicaid, you understand that, Prince, right?
I think
So
I'm
if
yeah.
Medicaid is your secondary payer to Medicare, and let's say you stay with original Medicare, right?
Hmm.
So you have your Part A and your Part B, and you have your Part D for prescriptions. Many people will consider on that original Medicare path, will consider a Medicare supplement plan, right?
Hmm.
And those Medicare supplement plans that we were talking about last week, they have costs. They actually have higher premiums, but they lower your out of pocket
Out of
costs,
pocket costs.
right? Well, if you have Medicaid, and Medicaid is going to pay your premiums for Medicare, and it's going to pay your out of pocket costs, your co-pays, your co-insurance, your deductibles. You don't need a Medicare supplement,
A supplement.
right?
It makes
Yet I meet so many people that have Medicaid and low income, so they're struggling to pay their bills, and someone advised them that you should have a Medicare supplement.
supplement.
Folks,
Okay.
you don't need a Medicare supplement if you have Medicaid.
Yeah.
Let Medicaid pay those costs because you're paying a supplement for what? My thought,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it does make sense to me. It does make sense to me. I think after once you see how all these payments go through it, it does really make sense to me.
Right.
And I know our time is almost done. And we
That
have
was quick.
shared. Yeah, it's so crazy how the time just quickly fly. But we have shared in the link in on Facebook and wherever you are joining us, like how you can reach out to us. Just shared, you can go click on that, and also you can always reach out to us, fill out the form, reach out. YouTube is there, subscribe to where things are, Facebook. And then I think on the slides too, we have our email. This has all the everything together, just we just talked about, in a simplified
Hmm.
form that summarizes everything together. um, and you can always reference it, reach out to us if you need some of this. We can work to get some of these cheat sheets to you. But basically, you can always reach back out to Ruthland and I if you have any questions. Ruthland's website is here, healthwithsolutions.com, and the email is support@healthwithsolutions.com. You can also reach out to us at the Heals Academy. Um, Go to our website, visit our websites, and also reach out to Heals Academy at info at the Heals Academy. Our goal here is to make the health system knowledge democratized and easy and simple to understand. And during this period of enrollment and insurance and everything, we hope that these series are here to simplify these things for you to make the informed decisions you need to make for you and your family. And Ruthlyn, we want to say thank you again for your time and your expertise. It's always enjoyable to spend the time with you on Mondays doing Medicare Mondays. And if you have any last shout outs, please go ahead, and then we can bring today to an end.
Well, you guys heard my spiel about Medicare enrollment periods. What I'm going to leave you with is that know that there are many opportunities when it comes to Medicare. When you're 65 and older, or if you have a disability and you're eligible for Medicare, understanding the enrollment periods save you money. It save you time and headache. So get familiar with that process and know what you're coming in so that you know what you're buying when you're buying it when it comes to Medicare, because there's a lot of information out there, and it just helps you as a consumer that you're making informed choices.
Thank you so much, Ruthlyn. And I next week we'll be here on Medicare Mondays, and we'll be talking more on what are we doing? Is it we doing on cost?
Well,
Um,
you know what? We're gonna spend a little time on the AP and on cost because
okay,
those are a biggie, and it's AP, so I have to talk
it's
about
already AP, right? Next
yeah,
week, yeah,
annual enrollment period, right? Because there's a lot happening there, a
going
lot
on.
of changes to Medicare in general and to the structure and to everything that we're dealing with. So it's a good opportunity to spend a little time on the cost and
Okay,
spend a little time on what folks should
AP.
expect over the next few weeks.
Okay, okay. Thank you again, and we sincerely appreciate you for joining us, Ruthlyn, and everyone that joined us. Continue to share this on Facebook, on YouTube, subscribe, and everything. Do all the good stuff that you do. All right. Thank you so much,
Thank
and
you.
have a good one. Bye
You
bye,
too.
guys.